Hey everyone, we are live. It's alive. It's alive. Welcome to Halloween 2020. That's scary enough as it is. Hi there, Don. We'll just wait for a few more people to show up and see what's going on. See if I can get this away from all that mess on the edge and look at some other kinds of mess. There we go. Hello from Iowa. All right. Hello from California. We had nice, cool October weather, and then it got hot again. It's 90 out there. Yikes. Hi, Jody. And more people. Look, I have real ones. I don't have the one with the little stripe across saying this is not for sale. This is for sale. Okay? So get out there and buy it. I will sign them for you. What's the pot off your left shoulder? Just my left. That's my left shoulder. I mean, down there, right there. That is a cat, a little ceramic cat thing where you put candy in it, and it's sitting in a little bowl of ghosts. So that's it. A cat sitting in a bowl of ghosts. I have that. Well, I have them at my live when we're person-to-person, face-to-face events, and I put the candy in there. I suppose you put business cards, but I don't have a desk where people come up, to me. It's not an insurance company. So anyway, so here I am wearing my Death Eater and Roses shirt. I don't know if you see that. And my little witch pendant and my candy corns. There they are. Because it's Halloween. Halloween, folks. Whether we like it or not, it is Halloween. And I do love Halloween. Get that off of there. This year is a little weird, though. Because it's hot, but it's also no kids coming to the door. So there we go. Spooky time. Yeah, spooky time. Well, if you missed the beginning part, you can always look at the video when it plays again after all of this. It's only an hour, so we'll just have fun doing an hour thing. So again, here we are for Clockwork Gypsy. That's what we're here for. I'm Cherry Westerson, and I had a lot of fun writing that and researching the Victorian era and then giving it a weird little twist so that it's all gas lamp fantasy, steampunk, historical fantasy, whatever you want to call it. But it definitely does have those steampunk elements. So I like to get the history first. You get the foundation of the history of the actual time so that we can get a feel for that, and so that the characters are moving freely within that space and are not allowed to do certain things because of that time period in the culture. And so when they break out of those things, it has an impact. So that's always good to establish that foundation, that world building, which is what you do in fantasy, but it's also what you do in historicals. You always do that world building because people are reading your book and they're not familiar, perhaps, with all of the mores and all the values of that time period. So that has to come out slowly in dialogue and everything else. So it's always world building, if you can even say it, involved. So, but it is a time of magicians and magic where people weren't really sure if the magicians were really magic, that they were doing the stuff that they were just watching on stage. So, and if I can show this to you here, see if you can see that stuff. The posters of the time period were so interesting because they always seemed to involve demons, because that's how the magician did it. He came upon demons that would help them. So that sort of gave me the idea of 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 having these demons uh, as part of the um, the storyline. So here's Carter, who beats the devil. You might have heard that, but he did that in one of his posters. He's playing cards, and see, I was all these little demons. So much fun. I just love the imagery of these posters of this time period. So that's always a thing too. So let's see if it's not cooperating with me. Here it is. Here it is, Carter beating the devil. There he is. We beat him at cards. It's really hard to see this really well. And here is where, come on, come back here. Here is where Mr. Houdini got his name, because his name was Eric Weiss, and he Robert Houdin. It was a very famous French magician, and he thought, well, I'm going to take his name. Because they're doing some very peculiar things, so they were never going to use their real names. They had to be mysterious names, something that would compel an audience to spend time watching them. So he's taking this guy's head off, but he's going to put it back, probably. And here is Chung Ling Soo. Chung Ling Soo had this great career, and nobody knew that he was American and black. But he went by Chung Ling Soo, and he had to play that all the time. You can't escape it. But he was well, I'm going to read a little bit about that, so you'll see a little bit about that in a minute. Here's Professor Bordini. Seance Mysteries. Skeletons, things coming out of the flames there. It's kind of exciting. He's a dapper gentleman. Oops. Here's Chung Ling Soo again, preparing a little Peking duck, and some woman coming out of the pot there. Here's Thurston, the great magician. And Thurston is a very famous name from that time period. And look at all the little imps and devils he's got there helping him. Looking at this skull that is bringing on some ghosts. It's very exciting. And speaking of ghosts, this is also a time where mediums were getting very popular. You've just had a civil war in the United States. So it was very popular in the United States, where all these mediums were coming forward. And it was also at the time of this book, of my Enchanter Chronicles trilogies. It's 1891, and there is electricity being used slowly, replacing gas. And electricity is opening up a whole new world for mediums. Now here's a medium. I don't know if you can see this really well. That's her head at the top, the medium's head at the top of the screen. And she is pulling out ectoplasm from her mouth because she's got the spirit in her. The spirit is moving her. Amen. No, she's got, what she has is gauze, really. But if you could pull out all this ectoplasm, it just, not only is it just terrifying, but it's kind of gross, really, if you ask me. So that was something that they did. And here's just, a fun picture of spirit coming on. It's coming on you there. These were some photographs from Victorian era. They just loved to do these fancy things. Photography, they use that as proof now of spirits, but I'm married to a photographer, so I know all the things you can do to cheat. So I'm going to read you briefly, if I have a voice. It's one of my blog posts that I did. And you can look on my website, jerrywesterson.com, and there's a blog tour. If you go to the appearance page, there's the blog tour of a couple of guest blogs I wrote. It's It's always when I'm doing these that I have no voice. So this is called It's All an Illusion. It's all about magicians. So it's just very brief. Let me just read this. And here's a quote that's in the beginning of the post. From Ira Erastus Davenport, who was a showman and spiritualist circa 1910. And he says, quote, "Strange how people imagine things in the dark. Yes, they do. That's most of the magic of the stage magician, and ideally, a magician plying his trade in the late 19th century. I was solidly immersed in the medieval era, writing my Crispin Guest medieval noir mysteries. Then I made a little side trip in my research into Jewish mysticism and discovered demons, spelled D-A-E, the helpful kind, as opposed to demons, D-E, the dangerous kind, and all the symbolism behind numbers, colors, and even magic words in Jewish myth and mystery. Magic got me to thinking about the fascinating time period of magicians in the late 19th century, where seances and the investigation into the next world compelled and enthralled, and science was still crossed with a certain level of mysticism where maybe magic was a real possibility. So I ventured from writing medieval mysteries to steampunk, a subgenre of science fiction and fantasy inspired by the steam-powered era. Technology is strictly steam-powered, even advanced technology inspired by the works of H.G. Wells and Jules Verne, steampunk masters, though they didn't know it. The aesthetics involve top hats, goggles, gears, corsets, dirigibles, magic, and devices. Magicians of the late Victorian era fascinated with their supposed close association to the supernatural world. Sometimes they never dropped character, so they would seem all the more mysterious to the public. Late 19th century African-American William Ellsworth Robinson, who went by the stage name Chung Ling Soo, he played his part so well that no one knew he was American, let alone a black man. As magician Fred Capps once said, "Misdirect all the time." Strangely enough, Chung Ling Soo is best known for the failed bullet catch trick that killed him on stage during a performance. Howard Thurston, and you saw his poster, another American magician known as the King of Cards, was a champion of card tricks. "My object is to mystify and entertain. I wouldn't deceive you for the world," he said, all the while deceiving you. That was a trick, after all, to make it appear as if it really were magic, as if there were no trick at all. The more dangerous the conjure, the more amazing the magician appeared as he walked back on stage after escaping certain death without a scratch on him. Charles Joseph Carter performed his tricks on stages all over the world. You might recall his posters that bragged that Carter beats the devil. In fact, many of the colorful posters of magicians of the past, which we just saw, including Carter's, feature demons, little devils, and ghostly apparitions. Some magicians bragged they used the help of spirits in their acts, at a time when spiritualism was at its zenith, and many mediums of the day included the illusionist's art when staging their own private performances that they called seances. The veil between magician and medium was very thin indeed. It was little wonder I got the idea to make my magician, Leopold Casimir, a man of Jewish Romani blood, ashamed of both, and styled himself as an English gentleman. He knows how to perform illusions, but also the dangerous art of summoning Jewish demons in order to perform real magic for his act, and to occasionally save the world through sleuthing for Scotland Yard. French magician Jean-Eugène Robert Houdin, father of modern magic, and incidentally where Harry Houdini got his stage name, said, "A conjurer is not a juggler. He is an actor, playing the part of a magician." I may even add that where sleight of hand is involved, the quieter the movement of the performer, the more readily will be the spectators be deceived. I think writers have a little magician in them, especially mystery writers. Readers trust what we write. They believe. They are misdirected if we can keep the reader from seeing just how the trick is performed. And hey, if I have to summon a demon or two to get the job done, I will. Nothing up my sleeve. Promise. Okay, so that's what it's all about. All of the misdirection, the fake magic. I mean, Chung-Ling Soo died from the bullet catch trick because he wasn't thinking of it as a trick. He was thinking that I could probably do a little magic here, maybe. Also because magicians would not share how they did them. So when one magician would watch another perform something, he wanted to do that trick too. He couldn't just go ask him. He had to figure it out. Well, like an idiot, he used a real gun and did real things that got him real dead. So unfortunate, but true. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the giveaways. Now we're gonna do it this way because last time I did this live thing, I think I forgot to do the giveaways completely because I couldn't figure out how, but I have figured out. What you're gonna do is email me when I tell you. You're gonna email me to jerrywesterson@gmail.com when I tell you, because we have things we're giving away. We have this little device. You can see that. Here it is. It's a little battle guy. It doesn't do anything, by the way. It doesn't walk. It's just cool. It sits on your desk. That's one giveaway. We have Steampunk Ducky. It's my Steampunk Ducky. One of the ones that I made, so there you go. Special one of a kind. We have the candy tins with the cover on it. It's got purple jelly bellies in there. And we have this wonderful necklace. And I don't want to give any of these away, Well, I'm going to have to. So let's get out this necklace, which is very cool. I almost didn't give this. So that's cool. It's a necklace, long chain. Now, so those are all giveaways, and I will tell you when. So you can email, and I will pick the winners later with my random number generator. Okay? So we will do that. By the way, some of these objects are from Etsy people, so I'm trying to pass it along to all my crafters out there. But mostly what we're going to do is try to answer questions that you may have. So hopefully we will talk about this. And yes, you can have a signed book. I am selling books. $18 to US people. So it's 15 for the book and 3 for shipping. If you don't live in the US, if you're in Canada or the UK or somewhere else, email me and I'll let you know how much the shipping is, because I don't know. So we'll find that out for you. So signed books, and always you can always ask me to send you signed book plates to put in books that you already have, and bookmarks and stuff like that. Just let me know. At jerrywesterson@gmail.com. Okay, so mostly we're going to be here to talk about stuff. We have very ingenious that they could create stuff like that in that time period. Well, if you go to one of my if you go to my appearance page on my website and you look at the blog tour, there is one blog post that I did about Automata. We have an automaton in the story, Raj, who plays tarot cards at a table. And they started to invent these things in the 1600s. As soon as they could do clockwork, somebody got the idea that, hey, if something in a gear moves and it makes something else move, then it can make something move in a certain way all the time. All you have to do is widen it up. So automata, they were around a long time. so they could figure out and do some crazy things like that. And some had them in their magic acts. Which one was that? The Prestige, where there's supposed to be an orange tree that grows and then gives fruit grows out of it. They were doing that stuff. They were doing that stuff long ago. So do check out that because that has some pictures and some stuff. And I could also show you some other YouTubes of there was a I showed one on my Facebook launch yesterday about a swan made out of silver dipping its head into the water that had little fish floating in it, and it picked up a fish and is eating it. Crazy. You can watch it all day long. But as we talked about the other day, you know, we're around automata all the time. Cuckoo clocks are automata. You know, little thing comes out, cuckoos at you, goes back in at a certain time. And in one, they basically invented computers because one guy did a weaving automaton, and he did it by punch cards, like a player piano, punch cards, computers. That's how they started. So neat stuff, very neat stuff. Raj, says Charles Hudson. Raj is fun. I love Raj. I just love the characters in this. They came upon me, and I had just so much fun with them. And hey, Mary. And I just enjoy their relationships to each other. And I love Leopold because he's master of magic. He's dealt with the Gehenna. He knows all about it, how dangerous it is, and the demons. But he can't talk to a pretty girl. He's so shy, and he's so besotted with Ming Li Zhao. And so he's fun. And she is fun to write too because, a woman who knows everything that's going on. I can relate to that. I like writing that. So that's fun. And I'll make another plug here for the audiobook, which still isn't out, but it will be soon, hopefully, to please get it because the narrator, Noah James Butler, he does such a fantastic job performing it, not just reading, it's performed. Each character has a voice. And he does Euronymous, the demon, so perfectly because I wanted him to have this. I wanted him to just look so horrific and dangerous, but he's got this West End accent. He's just blah, blah, blah. And he's given him a George Sanders voice, which was outstanding. So you got to get the audiobook. You will love it. The Swan was really cool, isn't it? I mean, I was talking about that. People are mentioning the Swan. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine creating something like that. I can't imagine imagining creating something like that. It has to be on my realm. But it's all about gears and when things click into the right space at the right time and what it does when it clicks there. It makes sense. It just makes sense. The writing ones are pretty bizarre. That one you got me. I don't know how they do that, but there are many writing automata that will write several things. Some even will draw a picture. They're programmed to do that. I don't know how they do that with gears. I don't know how they do that. I guess no, I don't know. Magic. It's just magic. That's all it is. It's magic. Yeah, Raj is funny, and Ming Li, she's definitely badass, and yeah, she is fun, and it's funny because I had no thoughts about making her Chinese originally, but I thought, come on, you got to get some diversity in here. So Chinese was perfect for England at the time period, and then it opened up a whole backstory of where she came from and all kinds of other things to go in there, without, keep the racist stuff down, Jerry. No problem. So that was okay. My brain doesn't usually allow me to listen to audiobooks. I can relate, I get it. The sample I listened to sounded like I would love it. I will have to give it a try. Give it a try. Audiobooks, they're hard. I admit it. They're hard to concentrate on. It's like listening to the radio. I listen to radio shows. I listen to NPR radio shows all weekend. And there's games and stuff. So you're engaged that way because you're trying to guess the answers too. But if it's not a game, if you're just listening to somebody read you a story or telling a story or radio play, it's hard to be fully engaged, I guess. When you're reading, you're actually reading the words that's playing in your head. But do something mindful. You're knitting, you're, I don't know, fixing something in the garage. You can listen to that. So give it a try. Give it the old college try. Noah came yesterday to the Facebook launch and he answered some questions. That was very nice of him to do that. He's very good about helping to promote. And what else have we got here? Yeah, it's all a matter of, you never know what you're going to need when you research something. I have, right here, I have this book. I found this book, Victorian London Street Life. This was a book of photography. This guy, who is John Thompson, went about town photographing everyday person. And then he'd interview them and ask them about their lives and what's going on. And, he's got Romani in here. He's got all kinds. What's this? This one is a dealer in fancy wear. Whatever that means. Little things to put out on your shelves. And it's just full of all the information about the people that he met. And so you find that, and boy, it gives you all kinds of ideas like, oh, all right. Especially ideas about just sort of filling out the backgrounds with people walking by. What are they doing walking by? Well, there's board men, sandwich board. They're advertising. They walk around. There's the the knocker-uppers. That is not, it's not what you're thinking now. Stop that. They're not going around knocking up people, but they are. What they're doing is they're hired alarm clocks, usually old women, maybe widows, and at a certain time in the morning, they go by your house and they have a long stick and they pound on your window to wake you up. They're knocking you up. Gonna knock you up. So, these are things that you find out about when you're doing research, and you may not use it as the main thrust of the story, knocking up thrust, but it's fun, like I said, to fill out the rest of the world with just a mention of something, So audiobooks work for me if I'm winding down before bed, just to concentrate on the writing. Yes, yep, they're very good for that sort of thing. Yes, that book was great. I was looking for all kinds of things, and I got books on for this latest one because it's about trains. All kinds of fun information about railways, about the English railways. And one of my Facebook friends, Mark, you know who you are, and you're in the dedication, by the way. You're getting a free book. I just sent it to you. He gave me a great idea. There's something called the Necropolis Railway. And it really helped the whole thrust of the plot. It just sort of made it go click. Necropolis Railway was a real thing because London churchyards, graveyards, were full. When people in the Middle Ages were burying people in churchyards, there were tons of parishes all over London. They figured, well, we'd never have enough dead people to fill this up. Well, it didn't take too long until they did, because London just grew and grew and grew, spread out well beyond Crispin's time period, and, swallowed up Westminster becomes part of, the London area. So there was nowhere to put the dead people. So there was a railway system that took the bodies and the mourners out of the London area to bury them out there. As a service, I'm sure you paid for it, but it was to take the dead. So that's kind of weird. I thought that was great. I like weird stuff to add to my paranormal stories, especially. So, yes. Okay. My mom raised some eyebrows when I said something about knocking her up. There you go. So all those little details are they add so much. Oops. So now we're half an hour in. So this is what I want you to do. If you want to win the little device, this little device guy, you go to send an email to Jerry Westerson at gmail.com. And the subject will be device. And you just say, yes, I would like to win this. And later, when I go back and look over these things, I will use my random number generator and pick a winner. Okay? So do that. Do that right now. You could stay here, but open another window, do the email thing. Because I don't want to lose anybody. I got things to give away. So let's not forget to do that. Because I've got 30 minutes to give these away. All right, so you do that. I'm not going to leave. I'm staying here. So that is cool. I wonder if that is how funeral processions started. No. Funeral processions are very old and ancient. The Romans, Greeks, everybody had funeral processions. In the Middle Ages, these are the areas I know about. If you're a rich guy, that's one of the ways to die well. You have to make sure that people are paid to wear, the darkness. So you're paying people to have the proper mourning clothes and to light candles and to carry candles. And, this was how you showed your beneficence by, dragging homeless people out of the streets and putting clothes on them, feeding them, and here, hold this candle and be in the procession. See, I'm doing something for the poor. So, yeah. But no, they're very old. It was just a weird. It was kind of I guess, a nice way to do that to help people bury the dead somewhere. Can't just leave it around. So, love me some English history. Always railways included. Yes, very interesting. What was it? It was I think it was by 8. Am I getting this right? Probably not. I'm trying to remember it, and I'm terrible at remembering. That's why I keep notes. 1890 or something. They didn't have toilets in the cars, in the passenger cars, until like 1890 something. What are you doing in the meantime about that? I guess you're holding on to the back, just hanging off the edge. I don't know. Yeah. Tickets, a lot of these things came from England, and then America used them too, because America was starting to really push railways everywhere, especially across to the west. And so, the simplest things that you think of, tickets. So a printed ticket that has your destination on it, that had with a special number. So that had to be invented. That was invented. They created in the railway stations. They decided that what they needed to have refreshment rooms where you can get something to drink, something to eat. And this is all in my afterwards. Charles Dickens commented on how horrible the food was in these. It's like gas station sandwiches. They were just greasy, horrible gristle, sawdust. Terrible food. Of course, no regulations, right? So you can have whatever you want. And so the Spears and Ponds, is that what it is? These guys, you could rely on them to have nice, clean refreshment rooms. And the food was decent. And then they had newsstands too, where you get newspapers and books and pamphlets and things to read while waiting for your train, while on the train, stuff like that. So this was all being created at the same time. Somebody's thinking about it. I gotta make a buck on this. Yeah, I see people standing around looking really bored. I know, you know. So that it's just it and it happened fairly quickly. The technology from inventing trains that are practical, where the engines wouldn't blow up, because that was a problem too, blowing up engines. You have water under pressure, under heat pressure, to create the steam to move the train. So the trucks. So yeah, dangerous until it wasn't, until they could figure out how to do it right, and it went very quickly. So transportation, trains are fun. Did a lot of train trips all over Europe when I was there many years ago. Anything about death rituals is interesting to me. Cemeteries, headstones, rituals. Yeah, me too. I love a good cemetery. Whenever my husband and I travel, if we're there, in a car or a trailer or something, if there's a good cemetery, like a pioneer cemetery or some historic cemetery, I love to stop and look. All the weeping angels and the stones, the statuaries. Just it's crazy. And there it is, all sitting silent. And people from generations later, I guess, are looking, seeing how long you lived, and something about you, because obviously there's this giant monument or a mausoleum, which are creepy, great creepy stuff. And one of the things I love about your books, they have those little, oh, really? How cool. It keeps being the story. Oh, yes. Thank you. Yeah, we were talking about all the little fun bits of information. You want to put it in there, but you don't want it to put it in there and then make it look like, hey, look what I found out. I'm going to put this right here in a little frame around it. So, that's the technique. Death rituals. And then they are all different throughout history and strangely the same, because we all have, throughout our culture, the fear of death, the unknownness of death, glommed onto with religion. So there has to be ritual, and it's good for us. Because it's our way of saying goodbye. It's closing that chapter, and it is really good for you, really, to have a funeral of some kind, something that closes the chapter. And whether that ritual is mummifying children in Peru, in the Andes, or an Egyptian tomb, or a simple funeral where we mourn. And yes, there were professional mourners, like I was talking about in the Middle Ages. The people drag off the street to look how wonderful I am because I'm giving something to the poor, and you're gonna give them they're gonna give you your money's worth by being a mourner. Being a body there as part of the whole group of mourners. They used to do similar things in San Francisco after they moved all the cemeteries to Colma. Yes, Donald, that's right. Wasn't there something about Colma that they were doing something there? I don't know. I had this discussion with my husband a while ago. I don't remember now. But they're always moving cemeteries, too. Always moving them, supposedly. They're always moving them because they need the land for something. Moving the bodies out. Or telling you they do. That's the whole basis of Poltergeist, is they didn't move the plots when they were supposed to. They did that in Old Town San Diego. There was a big cemetery, and the business people wanted streets, and they wanted habitation, they wanted businesses, and they said, "Okay, we'll move the bodies." Well, they didn't. And I don't know how long ago it was, but in the street there are little discs, little silver discs marking where the graves still are. So when you're driving over these guys, you know who you're parking on. So we don't move them, but we live with them all the while, you know. Wailing women. Yep. Had to drop a penny to use the bathroom. Yes. Yes, love the East Coast cemeteries and the South. Just awesome. Well, you know, we used to go to the wine country in Napa Valley and camp there. And right next to the campground was a pioneer cemetery where there were older graves from, you know, the 1800s, 1700s, and mostly 1800s. But yeah, I mean, you need to walk through, take a look at all the monuments. What was that? Santa Rosa. We took a trip to Santa Rosa once, and they have a wonderful old cemetery, lots of hills and mausoleums and just wonderful monuments. And there was some great light coming through with all the trees and such, because we were there in January, so it was great. Never seen a ghost. Don't expect to ever see a ghost, but as a paranormal investigator, I love cemeteries, love studying about the death rituals from England and the spirit photography. Ooh. I can tell you about that. But yes, it's fascinating. I mean, here we are at Halloween, right? We are fascinated by this, by the dead, by the raising of the dead. All right, more giveaways. We're gonna give away the Ducky. So go now to jerrywesterson@gmail.com and say Ducky in the subject line that you want to win this guy. Okay. Alrighty then. Okay, Ventura has a park that was the original cemetery, moved the headstones, but much debate on whether the bodies were moved. I will bet you they weren't. Some might have been, and then they said, well, I guess we're done. Because this is costing too much money. Yeah, we moved them. Yeah, they're moved. So, I guess progress waits for nothing. No, it does not. Because people are just what you think they are. They're not gonna move a body. You know, anybody who ever remembers these people are dead, who cares? Just move it. Just build over it. No one will know. Yeah, you won't take that bet. I bet you won't. Yeah. Yes, funeral practices, and there was a lot of ritual magic for burials, and that was, I don't know how we got on this, but why not? It's Halloween. You know, of course, Egyptians, they had to make a big production out of it, but it was all about magic. The priests would be there, and because, you know, especially if it's for a king, you're creating a way for this king to move on into the afterlife. So you are delivering him servants that you've killed, because you have to seal up this pyramid. You've got food, just tons of food and wine and things in jars all around the tomb. There's a boat, in case, you know, it's got to take a boat somewhere. All the things that they're going to need, because he's got to go to the afterlife. You know, and some cultures were a little more succinct about how that happened, and some are not. So there's all these different. It's so fascinating. There's all these things that you can study that you know, that nobody that they've kept records of. It's so interesting. I love all that stuff, and the magic fascinated me too. I do have books on how to perform the magic tricks. So we do talk about some of that. I give away some secrets. And I thought I might learn some sleight of hand things, but see these fingers, my sausage fingers, they're not going to roll. There's no coin that's going to roll over that. So I just figured, nah, I will write about them. But they are very interesting because they're not all done the same way. You think they are, but they're not all done the same way. Magicians still do not like to discuss it, how they do a particular thing. So if you like magic, you should watch Fool Us, the Penn and Teller show. They have magicians come on and try to fool Penn and Teller because they know all kinds of magic, all kinds, and they try to do tricks that they can't figure out. So if they win, then they win the little trophy and they get to be on the show. So check that out because they are very good. I've been to the Magic Castle where you could sit right next to a guy, sit just like you and I are sitting right here, and you can watch him do the card tricks. And you know that you're being misdirected, so you're watching carefully both hands. You can't tell what they're doing. You cannot tell how they did it. And it's so amazing. It might as well be real magic. But that is so impressive to me. And now that was something that people in Leopold's day didn't get. They kind of thought that these guys could really do magic. So that's why Leopold had, peppered his act with real magic that he did by summoning a demon. But so they didn't know. Audiences didn't know. So anything that the magician told them, they're going to believe. And what Leopold explains to the new assistants that he hires, the assistants say, but the magician shows you, he opens the cabinet and says there's nothing in it. And he says, we're lying. We're lying. It's a show. It's a trick. We tell because you're so programmed to tell the truth all the time, but we're lying. So they had to figure out the tricks. They had to figure. That's why Ching Li Su died from the bullet catch, because he couldn't figure out how to do it without killing himself. Sometimes they put a coin in the mouth to make sure it wasn't stolen, with which to pay the fairy bill. Oh, this is part of the death rituals. Penn and Teller show is really good. It is, because you get to see these magicians from all over the world, and they do some very clever things. I mean, they do very simple tricks, but you just couch it in all this theatrical stuff that's very fun now. But it was all very serious in Leopold's day. I mean, they're all wearing tuxedos and very elaborate clothing, and they're being serious. There's no joke. Houdini, who was more of an escape artist than he really was a magician, sometimes, he'd be there on stage for hours trying to get out of something. And the audience were staying there, waiting for him to get out of it. It's magic. Because he can dislocate his shoulders and things like that, so he can get out of things. But boy, sometimes that's a long haul to be on a show. All right, what do we got here? We got more giveaways. The tins, there's 2 tins to give away. So 2 people get to win. So put in the subject line, candy tins, to jerrywesterson@gmail.com, which is also down on the information there below the video. Okay. So magicians were very clever coming up with these things. And as you know from the demon device and from this one, the assistants were often identical twins, so that one assistant could be closed up in a box and suddenly appear across the theater by the magician's work, because they were twins. And that was a big secret. You couldn't tell anybody. They did have and do have shills in the audience. and because it's it's all to misdirect, to trick you. And nowadays, we know we're being tricked, so nobody's going to be mad. But which is different from mentalists did that too. They had different tricks. Um, but let's not be fooled. The mentalists today, who are trying to tell you that it's real, it's just the trick that they were using in the 19th century. So it's not real. Those people are, I'm not going to name names, but you know who they are. They are not. It's not real. And those shows that they used to show, they will only be an hour long, and he's getting a reading on these people in the room. People have said that have gone to these shows. Those take hours until because if you say I'm getting a W, I'm getting a W, and there's nobody with W, so they have to edit that out. I'm getting a T, no T's. Yeah. That's a very old trick. That's a trick. And they are trying to, get money out of you. But at least I don't know, I feel like in Leopold's day, it was fair game. Not like a seance that was trying to really get money out of you and really fool you. And Harry Houdini was investigated mediums because he knew that they were charlatans, and he wanted to make sure the public was not, taken in and swindled. Because you could spend an awful lot of money with a medium that claims to have contacted your dead child or your husband or whoever. And he did that with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. But Conan Doyle was a believer in mediums. He also believed there were fairies at the bottom of the garden. So, but that was a big thing for Harry Houdini. He was doing that. Victorian funeral photography is fascinating. Yes. There was a show I was watching. What was it on? Acorn or one of those British things. Oh gosh, what was it called now? Can't remember, but it was a mystery going on. It was about a guy who does funeral photography. And basically what that is you prop up the dead person like they're alive and you take a picture of them. These could be children, these could be babies, these could be old people and young people. And either with their eyes open, if they were still open, or they would paint their eyes on their eyelids so they look like they're open. Yeah, Victorians they did, everything was proper, including death. And they wanted that last picture of the dead. People still do that, though. There's a lot of, I don't know if they're people that been to funerals, it's open casket, and they will take a picture. I don't want that picture. That the hair jewelry that they made. America did it too, and I think the English Victorians did it. Not out of dead people particularly, but they made elaborate knotted macrame designs of hair, human hair. I mean, framed displays that you can't believe. You're like, wow, that's really cool. And then you look closer, you go, oh my God, is that hair? So look that up. That's jewelry, rings and stuff made out of hair. Yeah, it's crazy. I see people are putting emojis with the faces on them. That Long Island medium show, I don't believe that woman either. I don't know who that's particularly referring to, but I'm not going to name names. You know what I'm talking about. Find a lot of funeral pictures on the internet. Yeah, hair designs creep me out. Yes, you can find them. They are creepy, of dead people and all propped up. Should we mind that? Should that creep us out? I don't know. It's legitimate as a big weeping angel on top of your grave, I guess. It's remembering somebody. Memori, what's the Latin there? Okay. Last giveaway. Put necklace in the subject line to jerrywesterson@gmail.com. And then we'll see who wins. But yeah, all that fun stuff. So so this book, this is Leopold's Further Adventures. This is 6 months after the last book, The Demon Device. And there is a diabolical plot involving a railway, if you can imagine what that is. And Mingli Zhao comes back to town unexpectedly and asks Leopold to help her discover what is going on, because supernatural creatures are dying, and nobody knows why. And of course, she always gets the supernatural, paranormal crimes to solve for Scotland Yard. And it also does involve some supernatural creatures this time. We get to see some goblins and some fairies. And there is this guy, this Clockwork fellow, who is out for blood for the person he thinks did this to him, Leopold Casimir. So he's out to find him. And does he? Well, you'll have to read it to find out. It's a fun book. There's a lot of humor, a lot of pathos, some romance. So there's a lot of good stuff in there. I recommend it highly. And please, if you want to buy a book, email me. And I will give you information on how to do that and how much that is. So I would appreciate that. More books need to be sold. Definitely more reviews need to happen on these books on Amazon and Goodreads. So I'd appreciate that. So are there any last questions here? Looks like things are wrapping up. This has been a lot of fun. I've never done your YouTube launch before. Thank you, Jerry. Well, this is only the second time I've done it, so I'm just still trying to figure out how to do it. But I like to talk about and let people ask about all the things that they're wondering. And we ended up in the graveyard for most of it, which is fine. On Halloween, it's perfect because it's so darned interesting. Be posting a pic of the book on Facebook when I receive it. Good. Thank you. Whenever you receive stuff, if you receive prizes, take a picture, post it on Facebook. That's always fun. Morning jewelry. Yes, morning, not in the morning, morning, morning jewelry. You can only wear, well, Victorians, you have all these rules about what you could wear, when you could stop wearing black, special jewelry that you wore in jet, black. So, and often include the living children as well in these photos, so all the family can be together one last time. Let's see. How many books are you planning for Leopold? Hopefully many. No, I'm only planning 3. So we only have 1 more to go. So when I do series now, it just seems like a good idea to do just 3. Because that way I don't get tired of it. And, I have a good idea of a nice arc. And then, 3 and done. And then move on to the next one. That seems like a good thing to do. My agent recommended that, and looks like it's working out. So, but we'll see. I mean, it's a trilogy. I think you'll find that it feels pretty complete to you once you've read the last one. I really like the YouTube launches. Feels more like the in-person ones. Miss those. Yes, I do too. I miss them. But we're just about done here. I thank you guys for coming. This will repeat because it's, recorded on YouTube. So thank you so much for coming. I'm going to go check out right now all the stuff you emailed. So remember to email. You can still do it until I catch you about the prizes. Thanks for coming. It is 3:00. Thank you so much. We'll see ya on Facebook. and YouTube. I'm gonna keep on doing my little YouTube things with the channel. Thank you guys. Thank you all for coming. Bye now.